well, let's go into some spoilers now. We don't have to cover this whole movie. We really don't. The whole film, just from the first half of the spoilers, the things that really stood out to me in terms of like spoiler-worthy discussions was the Jake Johnson scene when it's American Werewolf in London style. I love that touch. I loved it. Like when I saw it, because Jake Johnson's character was kind of annoying me at first. Yeah. But I liked how, the spider bite, because when he gets bit by the spider, I like how Tom Cruise's character kind of just brushes it off. Like, dude, it's not even like a poisonous spider, but then he starts to turn into like a zombie. And, and then he starts killing them. Like, I like that. I actually enjoyed that sequence. It felt a little B-movie horror to me, and I liked it. Yeah.
Well, that was a horror touch I wasn't expecting, because it was legit pretty creepy. Yeah. And it also, I thought the movie actually checked out on that character.
Yeah, that was a good thing about it, because I thought, this is the end of his character now. This is like the last, because they kill off his he dies technically, and Tom Cruise shoots him and the plane crashes. Yeah. So you assume he's just dead. So when he comes back, and I'm talking as if you guys know the movie already. Yeah. Just in case you haven't seen the movie.
Just in case you decided to watch past the spoiler warning.
They have a thing where he's kind of like a ghost.
Or
some type of spirit, some type of
the
spirit.
movie just chooses what it wants.
Who's communicating to Nick and giving plot points to Nick and stuff. But their interaction back and forth, I thought was really funny and it was really entertaining. And I believe them as friends. I did. It wasn't like you got this actor and this actor together. It was like, no, I believe you guys as friends.
Yeah, totally. And that was a nice thing to see, Yeah. And the thing is, like, that's what's weird about this movie to me, because that arc, I think, even though I think the writing was clunky, it's kind of an alright thing they built there. Like, it's a moment that the movie kind of builds something over time pretty well, and then forgets about it for a really long time, and then brings it back at the end. But
that's a big problem with the movie too. Is it introduces this cool element to the film. It's American Werewolf in London style. And then he's gone, like, the rest of the movie. And he, like, makes a cameo again at the end. like he's just...
Hey, remember me?
Yeah.
And, like, the weird thing is, for me, I was like, oh, it's nice to see you again.
Yeah.
Like, but, yeah.
Okay, so when they go into, what's it called?
Prodigium.
Shield. That's what I call it.
Shield headquarters. Yeah. You see Captain America's shield on the table.
Right? Okay, so what happens in the movie is... that whole van spinning sequence that you see in the trailer, and like they're fighting in the woods. What saves the day is a bunch of dudes show up and they capture the mummy. And
harpoon guns.
Yeah, harpoon guns. And right when they show up, I just went, Shield! Shield, Shield, I know it's Shield, it's a Russell Crowe's team.
Impossible moment, perfect time for people well equipped for this to show up.
And, I don't know, I thought some of the the little bit of universe building would have been fine for me. Like when they're walking through the lab and there's a hand from the creature from the Black Lagoon. There's a skull with vampire fangs on it. That was neat. That was
non-committal nod to a Dracula.
Yeah, it's because the whole point of Tom Cruise's shoes is him going the whole movie, what? That's like most of his dialogue.
He is us, yeah.
So seeing the lab was fine.
Yeah.
But once they started going into like all of Dr. Jekyll and Hyde, and then it annoyed me when freaking not Imhotep. What's her name? What's her name in this Noxuna movie? Her non-memorable name in this movie.
I remembered it before.
Amenet. Yeah, when Amenet's like tied up and they're filling her with mercury. You had a big problem with that because you thought like she could have been frozen a long time ago.
Yeah, he's like, this is really cold mercury. We're gonna pump it into her body. She's gonna freeze, and we're gonna put her back where she came from. And like that sequence goes on for a while. It seems like it's been a long time.
Yeah.
She's not that big. She's gotta be like bursting.
Yeah.
With mercury right now, and the movie doesn't seem to care about that. Like, it just forgets about it, and she monologues and stuff, and she has time to like not feel this horrible thing. That's coursing.
Like everything that's being explained doesn't explain more. It's just a lot of re-explanation.
It just shows you your card and then like tells you it's gonna come back to it later.
So it's slowing down, and they have this whole sequence. Can you cut it and replace the battery? And they have this whole sequence. What starts to happen is there's this like stupid shit starts happening. One of the mummy's spiders starts crawling up a guy's neck, and goes into his cheek and then into his ear, and the whole time he's not suspect.
He slaps it when it's
too deep in his ear already.
Like every human I know, like if your own hair brushes your shoulder the wrong way, you're like, oh my god, like you know.
And so he's starting to get mummified, and is like, when I say mummified, that means like zombified.
Yeah,
he's starting to get zombified, and he's starting to spoil the plan so she could break out of the being injected with mercury in her chains. But then they have this whole other thing go on that just seems so unnecessary and strictly for universe building that just annoyed the shit out of me. I mean, better effort than emails and BVS.
Yeah, I mean, they try to make it what is this situation?
It's the whole scene when Russell Crowe hides the fuck out. I couldn't stand it. I just couldn't. I'm like, I like his performance, what Russell Crowe's doing. Like, I like how he made it a different guy.
Hey, he showed up,
because he doesn't go like full Hulk out. It's like, oh, it's still Russell Crowe. Just like a little different makeup and shit. And like CGI makeup. Yeah. But the whole, him fighting Hyde was just so unnecessary and was just taken away from the main shit. That you're like, should I be invested in the fact that Hyde is here? Or should I care that the mummy's about to break out? My heart's attention has been really divided a lot. Because none of it feels like heavy stakes. It doesn't feel like, oh man, they gotta like stop the mummy from breaking out, but this thing with Hyde is happening. This is kind of just a distracting plot point to me now.
Well, that's what shoehorning in that whole Hyde sequence partly messes up, is you really do get the sense that for Aminette, it's just like, she just has to wait around until the circumstances work out. Like, that's how her whole plot unfolds. Yeah. And so, I don't know, I mean, Mr. Hyde, like, I do appreciate he showed up. Like, I do.
Yeah.
But
I thought it would have been cooler if it was just Dr. Jekyll.
Yeah, build that up for some time.
No, like, give your little hint at Hyde if you want to have him inject his hand. I don't care, but don't do a whole Hyde sequence.
I actually, it is a nitpick, but I did care about that because that was like, he's explaining stuff to Tom Cruise, and I feel like, again, it's another thing the movie does the first time I'm meeting you, just because the audience needs to know. So, like, there's this whole scene where he almost hulks out in front of Tom Cruise, and he has to, like, administer a special medicine, just like in full view of this guy he's just met who, you don't know how he's gonna respond. And I don't know, it's like, have you never done this before? Or do you just hulk out in front of everybody you meet?
And I also felt like the last half started giving Tom Cruise nothing but to go, what? Mm-hmm. Huh? Yeah. What? Oh, intense. Huh? What?
And that's the thing, is like
they run out of stuff for him to do.
The Tom Cruise shtick does start to run dry, and I don't think that's because of him. Like, he's still engaged.
No, they gave his character nothing to do. They gave his character nothing.
The writing gives none of these characters much of anything to do. In fact, Courtney B. Vance just checks out the movie after a while. Like.
And okay, so by the ending, why don't you break down the ending a little bit?
Okay, so that thing from the beginning. That you're only shown to remind you. They're in this, like, tomb underground, and she finally finds...
Oh, you mean with the knights?
Wait, which ending are we talking
about? Okay, you mean, like, the ending where the tomb is, where the knights are in the beginning of the film that they show us. Yeah, they have the knights at the beginning of the film, and they're showing them bury something, which, that's where the jewel to the dagger was. And,
the Infinity Stone.
The Infinity Stone. So the tomb was super important. And so while they're in the tomb, Sofia Boutella kills the blonde chick in the movie, Jenny, the character. Yeah. Kills Jenny. Jenny's just dead. Tom Cruise is upset. All the zombies disappear. It's just Aminette
underwater
and Tom
chase.
Cruise. And Aminette's whole goal is to just fucking slice into Tom Cruise and complete your ritual.
And imbue him with the Set, the God of Death. And we're gonna rule stuff together.
You're gonna rule stuff together. That's all she has to do. But the whole time she keeps punching him she keeps punching him and then throwing him around.
Yeah, there doesn't ever seem like a reason they should be talking. Fighting. Yeah, it's like she gives him every opportunity to do that thing he's got to do.
It's like she keeps saying, just give in. I'm like, what do you need him to give in for? You just do it. He'll do it.
You know what I thought of during that scene? I didn't explain that very well. But I thought of Bruce Almighty. I thought of you can't force people to love you.
Yeah.
And that's all I could think about in that moment. Because, like, at that point, I didn't even buy her as evil anymore. I couldn't tell what was happening with her anymore. I was
she
like,
jealous of Jenny? Like, I couldn't get what was going on. It's like, I felt like she was trying to get him to get over Jenny. Like, that's what it seemed focused on.
Like a pride thing?
That's what it looked like.
Because once you imbue him with the god of death, he's at least got to be not 100% Nick still. So, like, does it matter?
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
Who cares?
Like, why did you just kill him? So... And then Nick, he kills himself. He comes back with Amonette's powers. I don't know what he is.
He soul sucks her, and I thought he was gonna like give her life to his girl and have some kind of complicated scenario where, like, to keep her alive, she's also got this evil spirit somewhere in her body.
But somehow Tom Cruise realizes all the power he has and just sucks the soul out of Amonette.
Yeah.
And I'm more sitting there going, wait, what's going on right now?
Yeah, it's like after a certain point at Prodigium, the movie just takes this sharp turn where it's like, okay, big action scene, and now we're serious, and now it's grim, and when we're bringing people back from the dead.
And then then you have Jenny, and Tom Cruise scares her into waking up.
Yeah,
That's the best I could describe that moment as.
He scares her back to life.
He just yells so loud in evil voice.
With what I assume is this evil that lurks beneath that we've been hearing so much about of him. And he does that sort of like, I gotta go into hiding.
Yeah. That's when audience members started laughing. Because Jenny wakes up and she's like, Nick, you saved me. Because all of Nick's arc is supposed to be, he's not supposed to be selfish, and he's not supposed to just care about himself. Like, because the movie sets that up so obviously when she looks at him and goes, do you only care about yourself? And right then and there I was like, oh, so by the end of this film, he's going to learn to care about her. This is going to be great. And
it's like, oh.
So I guess he made a sacrifice. He was already kind of cursed and dead. So.
If I just go by the plot, it's like I understand what they wanted to do, and I understand even the rate at which they did it. If I'm being friendly about it, like, yeah, at that point, even after how wacky certain things have been, if he's imbued with evil in order to save his love and he can never be with her, fine. He's brooding at the end, but nothing. It doesn't ever earn that choice. It's like the adventure isn't solid enough to where the plot alone can carry things, and the characters, the actors are all good. It's the same thing like with Kong Skull Island. It's like the actors help the material, but the material doesn't give you an insight into who they are at all. Yeah. So if the adventure's not good enough and the stakes don't have suspense, and I don't know much about these people, the movie's whole success and failure goes on what I might be enjoying at the time. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about this movie that I'll say is positive, is like, I had a really good time watching it up until the end when it's not a complete movie experience, but it surprised me with a lot of clever things.
The thing is, they try to give it like this romantic sort of ending. And that's what I'm trying to talk about this whole time.
I'm so sorry.
They have this romantic type of ending where he like sacrifices himself for her, and like I never wanted to hurt you, and they keep him in the shadows. And I don't feel like the film never earned its romance. I mean, because the movie has this little joke at the beginning about how they slept together the day before and his feelings for her and stuff. And I'm like, wait, I don't even know how you two know each other. What you two talked about. This movie made it seem like that he just seduced you one night so he could bang you on a one-night stand and steal your map. This didn't ever allude to, you guys were talking for a while.
That's where the movie crosses its wire, because the thing is, their chemistry is on-screen appropriate. It's weird. Like, I feel like all their chemistry comes from that moment, that joke, not from the story that led to it. So it's like they have appropriate chemistry for what that scene implies. Yeah. But he's, if you just look at what you learned in the film, it feels like a guy who just really wants to prove it wasn't a one-night stand, and I'm not a shitty guy. Yeah. Okay? I love you. I'm sacrificing myself for you right now.
Wait, this movie didn't earn any of that.
Yeah, like, you can't just tell me that he had feelings but never show me that.
And then when they're wrapping up the film, they have Mummy, Amonette, she's being consumed with mercury, burying her again, and they're filling her sarcophagus up with
juices
mercury.
Her out.
and then Russell Crowe is just expositioning the fuck out of the movie. I could not believe the amount of like, I think a regular audience member would have been like, that's a lot of exposition right there. You know?
Yeah, not only does it tell you kind of what's gonna happen next, maybe, but it also tells you like what just happened that you're aware of.
Yeah. And it just it kind of made me question we'll cover the exposition stuff in a second, but it made me question just all storytelling of this film.
Yeah.
The film has this like knights burying something at the beginning. We don't know what.
It was unclear to me, but it's the jewel.
Yeah, no, I'm saying we don't know what at the beginning of the film. And then you get okay, here's what's going on with Tom Cruise. And you get prologue of the that's not what happens. You get prologue of the Mummy, of who Amenet is, and Russell Crowe, he's like narrating this, and I'm like, who's he talking to in this scene?
Yeah,
is he the narrator of this movie?
You narrate
yeah,
and that's the thing, is like to have him intrude. So like again, any one of these scenes isolated might have worked, but yeah, like the way the movie is, I'm like, why? Thanks, universe. Yeah. Thanks, voice of the dark universe, for telling me all this.
Because I was like, yeah, it's like, it's clearly stuff that's just being told to the audience, and then they try to mask the expositional ending off of, because Russell Crowe is talking with Jenny, and he's, she's like, he sacrificed himself for me, and I'm sitting there like, yeah, we all know that.
We saw that.
He kind of even pretty much said that too, and then Russell Crowe's, what shit was he? He was just saying so much. Of like, but he's a monster now. Yeah. He's a different man. He's gonna go on adventures, and he's gonna try to find a cure, but there's evil in him, and evil will follow him. I'm like, whoa! Why so much dialogue there?
I'm sort of afraid of what they're using the word monster for now. Like, if they're gonna change the word monster to be guy with a macabre superpower that occasionally has a brooding evil, track him down sometimes
with his little comic relief sidekick Jake Johnson.
Yeah.
This movie ends where Jake Johnson's brought back to life. Hey, thanks for bringing me back to life. Thanks for turning that up too.
Like, I don't like that if they left it dubious in an odd way.
Yeah, and then Tom Cruise, like they said, so essentially,
which movie are you
what
making?
The ending is saying is Tom Cruise is the Mummy.
Yeah,
that's why no one ever
talks
about.
Remember that chick from the poster?
Yeah.
Nah.
That's why no one's ever talking about Sofia Boutella. That's why not even Alex Kurtzman talks about her. It's because it's setting up that Tom Cruise, he's the universal monster now. That's what it's the origin tale of Tom Cruise as the Mummy.
It's a cool switcheroo, but I feel real bad for her.
It's cool on paper, but
everything. That's what's so frustrating. I think that's part of why people, in the reviews anyway, have been so upset about this, is because like half the ideas are all right.
Yeah.
And it squanders all of them in having not a lot of soul.
It's uneven. The movie is not focused well. And that ending though, when like they're riding off in the desert and he has his little sandstorm behind him.
And I'm like, this isn't even
controlling. I'm like, wait a minute, the Mummy, you've made the Mummy a superhero.
Evil's gonna follow him. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's having a great time right now.
What the hell happened to your? Yeah, exactly. Where's your sense of adventure?
Why is he Indiana Jones, and why are you trying to tell me that he's gonna be evil?
Yeah, because you set up a Mummy origin tale. Not as a dark character, he is now superhero. You set him up for when your Avengers assemble, he's probably gonna be like Captain America about the whole thing.
Yeah, because he's probably the most noble of all these guys.
He's got the military training and all that shit.
He got bit by a mummy and became a mummy.
Yeah. Alright guys, well, that's our spoiler talk of the Mummy. You can subscribe today, become part of the Reject Nation, click that notification bell. John Humphrey on Twitter and Instagram, social media manager of Blumhouse, and go check out our Patreon for exclusive perks and exclusive content. Love.